Welcome back to another episode of the Benefits Insider. I'm your host, Chris Hamilton, and today I want to share with you how our economy can shave over $1 trillion out of our GDP that's spent and wasted on healthcare and how it can be used to drive economic growth in our economy. And it starts with you. If you're like a lot of businesses that we talk to, you're grappling with rising healthcare costs. And as those costs rise, it's taking money that could be reinvested somewhere else in your business to spur economic growth for your company, for your employees, for your local economy. And why that's important is there's so much waste and abuse that we see, and our clients that are winning have been able to actually reduce that cost and thereby pay for things like pay raises for their employees, bonuses, new investments in equipment or technology, buying other making other acquisitions. It's spurring economic growth inside of their business. And so when you think about our gross domestic product, our GDP nationally, we spend over $5 trillion by recent estimates for 2023. The estimates are we spend over $5 trillion in healthcare, which represents about 20% of our economy. In fact, it's the largest sector of our economy. So if you think about 20% savings on that, it's $1 trillion, which is a very lofty goal, but how are we going to do this? It's been debated about for almost a decade, more than a decade. If you think back to 2010 when the ACA was passed, right? We've been dealing with this issue for a very long time. It's being hotly debated as part of the upcoming presidential election. And if some people will think, okay, the government's going to have to step in, single payer is the way that we're going to solve this issue. I don't agree with that. I mean, look at the way the government's managed a lot of other things. Medicare, for example, we talk about healthcare. There's not a magic wand that's going to be able to be enacted or some edict from the mountain on high that's going to reduce our costs. There's no such thing as cost controls, right? You end up, I'm not going to get into the economics lesson of that, but whenever there's cost controls put in place that are mandated, you typically see shortages. And that's exactly what will happen if the government takes over this. So the answer, in my opinion, based on the experience that I've had over the last decade working with employers like you to solve this issue, is that's not the way to do it. The way this is going to happen is by employers like you adopting a different way, saying, I've had it, I'm fed up with the status quo, and I'm ready to start taking steps to reduce our health insurance costs and provide my employees access to better coverage at the same time. So think about this. Our average employer is typically able to see a 20 to 40% savings year one by moving out of a status quo system, the traditional fully insured markets. Or if you're bundled, you're letting an insurance carrier manage all of the aspects of your self-funding. By moving from that model, you're typically able to save 20 to 40%. So if you spend $1 million or $2 million on health insurance for the year, that could be anywhere between $400,000 and $800,000 in savings to your bottom line in a given year. That is the secret right there. A single employer able to reduce their costs, use a round number, $500,000 to their bottom line. That's $500,000 that's no longer going into a broken, inefficient system that can now be used to buy new technology, invest in equipment, expand their business that they wouldn't have otherwise been able to do, which is really cool. And I'm going to share an image here that I really think highlights this. This drop of water is that initial savings. These ripples of that water are the impacts. That first order is going to be the bottom line to the company. The second order is going to be the expansion and the growth that they do, the impact that it has on the employees. That next ring out is going to be the impact it has on their families. That next ring out is going to be the impact that it has on their local economy. But follow me with this, right? The expansion of your business probably is going to result in a couple of things. More employment. So that's going to be good for those families. It's going to be good on the local economy because the more employment, the more dollars are there in the local economy. People are frequenting more restaurants. They're buying cars. They're buying houses. They're fixing their houses. And so they're going to go. There's all this economic activity that is spurred by you as the employer fixing your rising health insurance costs. It's not only good for your business, it's good for the economy. But imagine what this looks like. You're just a case size of 1, n equals 1. What happens when this scales, which this is exactly what we're seeing happening across our country right now. Employers like you are taking action, and this is what it looks like at scale. Employers from all over, every walk of our country, are adopting. It's actually one of the fastest growing areas of health insurance in the United States, is employers that are adopting these partially self-funded plans that are managed properly, breaking apart these misaligned incentives of the traditional insurance companies, saving money in the process, allowing them to invest in their business, invest in their people, spurring economic growth locally, and at scale, it happens nationally. So how do we do it? Maybe you're an employer that's saying, you know what, I've got a fully insured health plan right now. I don't really know where to start. So the first thing I would advise you to do is find an advisor that's done this before, preferably with a lot of companies, that can share their track record and share references that can really validate the type of work that they're doing. You want somebody that's been down that road and back to shepherd you through it, just like you don't want to get the guy operating on you that just graduated from med school. You want somebody that's done this before. But philosophically, I'm going to give you the 3 things that really should be focused on. The first one is fixing the misaligned incentives that are rife within all of our health insurance plans. This is the carriers, and I'll share this chart. I did not create this chart. I got it, I think, from Drug Channels or Drug Institute. I borrowed this, I embellished it a little bit, or say embellished, I modified it to be more accurate. The one that I had was old, and so some of the logos have changed. I've updated this. But this dictates, or really highlights, what the insurance companies have done. This is their business model. Their profit margins are capped on the insurance level, but they're vertically integrated. They own all of the subcontractors, or a lot of the subcontractors that are involved in your care delivery, particularly your pharmacy benefit management. I'll also share a slide here that shows how much money they're making. These insurance companies, they're not insurance companies anymore. They're primarily pharmaceutical middlemen, and that's where they profit the most from these. And they own the doctors that your employees go to many times, clinics. They're getting into facilities now. So if you live in Houston, good example, United Healthcare owns Kelsey-Seybold, right? So think about what that means. They not only own the insurance, they not only own the middlemen that dictate the pricing that your employees are paying, but they now own the clinicians. And that's happening all around the country as we speak. That's been the business model, adapting to the way the Affordable Care Act has put limitations on how insurance companies can make money. These companies have integrated. They're no longer insurance companies. They're healthcare delivery and middlemen. And that's where all the profit happens. This slide right here highlights this of 2 of the big carriers in our market, Cigna and United Health. You can see for Cigna, the vast majority of their revenue is coming from things other than insurance. That's primarily Express Scripts in a division called Evernorth. You can see that United Healthcare makes a boatload of money outside of insurance in their unit called Optum. That's their pharmacy benefit management, and the physicians that I mentioned, the clinics and whatnot that I just mentioned a second ago, as in Houston. So we want to break this up. We're okay with people making money, but we want to make sure they're making money that's in line with the way that we pay for things. And we want to create transparency in the process. And by doing this, breaking away from these misaligned incentives, putting in programs that provide access to your employees at a lower cost, they benefit from that with a lower out-of-pocket cost, and oftentimes we can waive their costs by doing this. By removing those misaligned incentives, we're reducing the cost of your healthcare claims. So that's number 1. The second one is eliminating wasteful spending. Just highlighted about how these carriers, they make more money the more you pay for, let's use medications, for example. There was a recent lawsuit against Johnson & Johnson, J&J. A whistleblower filed a lawsuit against them for breach of fiduciary duty because their insurance plan was paying $10,000 for a medication that they could have bought outside of the insurance plan for $40. Doesn't seem fair, doesn't seem right, but that's the way health insurance is designed. It's not just medications, it's surgeries, it's cancer infusions, it's imaging, it's everything inside of your health insurance plan. We're all overpaying for it in the traditional model. And so we want to eliminate that wasteful spending and give employees, your members, access to these healthcare services at the best cost, with the best quality provider at the right time. And there are ways, employers that are leading the way in reducing their costs 20, 40, 50, 60% in a year are leading with that. They're leaning into it because that's the direction the market is going. The third thing that we're seeing being successful in being able to wring out waste and abuse in a health insurance plan is by incentivizing employees to become part of the solution. It's probably why you pay salespeople commission, right? Because what do you want? You want them to sell more. You want them to have skin in the game, right? And so the way we do that is by making the right choices free to employees. So we provide access to direct contracts. We provide access to get your medications at a very reduced cost. You can have surgeries at a fraction of the cost. If the employer, which is the health insurance plan at the end of the day, You're your own health insurance company, whether you're fully insured or self-funded. We can talk about that more later. But whatever your claims are, you're going to get rated for them, right? Even if you're fully insured. You've heard this before when you've had bad claims and or high utilization, you're fully insured, you get a big renewal. Guess what? You're self-funded. They're just applying the self-funding piece, the variable piece, at your renewal. So we want to incentivize employees to help us reduce those costs, and the way we do it is we give them access to top quality providers, medications, all those sorts of things, but we give them the programs that help us get those same exact things at a reduced cost. The benefit, the incentive to the employee is we waive their cost of care. You can go have a baby, you can get a cancer infusion, you can have a hip replacement, you can get an MRI or CT or PET scan, you can get anything that just about you can think of inside of a health plan at a better cost. You can get it for free, because the savings are typically 50 to 75% off of what your insurance company pays for those exact same things today. So the winning strategy, again, in summary, we want to break up these misaligned incentives that carriers have, trapping us, requiring us to pay more than we should. We want to eliminate that wasteful spending by putting these programs in place that help employees. The third thing is we want to incentivize them to use those programs. We give everybody a choice. You can do it the old way, go wherever it is that you want, no access to any sort of care, or no restriction to access to any care, but that comes with a price. It's your deductible and co-pays and your out-of-pocket, or you can go free, and we're going to give you access immediately to the best providers at no cost. Incentivization is everything. By doing these three things, you're making your benefits more cost competitive, and you're actually enriching them, because you're providing a benefit that most employers today, even Fortune 500 companies, are not providing. And I want to give you 3 examples of my personal experience using these inside of our own company. So I'm not, if you remember the old Hair Club for Men, I'm obviously not a client of the Hair Club for Men. Maybe I should. But he used to have a deal where he would say, the president had a big head of hair, and he'd say, I'm not only the spokesperson, but I'm not only the president, but I'm also a client. And he shows a picture of him when he was bald.
I'm not only the Hair Club president, but I'm also a client.
So I'm not only saying this to you as an advisor, I'm saying this to you as an employee of a company who has benefited from these. I'm going to give you 3 examples of how my company has literally saved thousands, tens of thousands of dollars, and continues to save money on me being on their insurance plan as a utilizer every single year. So the first one was, years ago, I had to have a hip replacement. And it was just from years of wear and tear, playing football, doing jiu-jitsu for a long time. I could barely walk. I was limping around. I just did not want to have this surgery. Well, we have a program that has direct contracts with top quality providers to do this particular type of surgery. And because I was willing to go to this provider, had I used our PPO network, the cost of my hip replacement would have been $60,000 roughly. The bundled cost, that's surgery, the surgeon, the hospital, anesthesia, the whole 9 yards. You get all these bills from people. Well, all that added up is about 60 grand where I live. And I was able to get that surgery bundled. The total cost of care was $20,000. That included the hospital, the surgeon, anesthesia, physical therapy, everything. I didn't get any sort of bills from anybody. My company, since we were able to save $40,000, my care was provided at no out-of-pocket cost to me. I saved my deductible and out-of-pocket, which was thousands of dollars. My company was able to save $40,000 in the process. It's win-win. The surgeon, the hospital, they were happy to take us because they were getting a patient they otherwise wouldn't have gotten. I could have been a random crapshoot. I mean, as I look back through here, there's a lot of hospitals back over here. I could have gone into any one of them. They removed the randomization and they were guaranteed a patient, almost guaranteed, because it was free. They got preferential treatment with that direct contract. Secret there, incentivized, right? I'm going to give you patients, you give me better price. So hip replacement was one. Last year, I had this kind of bump on my stomach. Turns out I had an umbilical hernia. Well, on my insurance plan, if I used the PPO network, it could have been $25,000 to $30,000 for that in DFW. I was able to get the top rated surgeon for quality in the entire metro area of North Texas, Dallas, Fort Worth, and the total direct contracted price for that was $5,000. My company saved $20,000 to $25,000 on that one claim. Again, I was able to get my surgery at no out-of-pocket cost to me. It was free to me. But the third thing, and this is where I think there's a big opportunity for employers like you helping employees, is medications. Well, I have a condition that runs in my family. I've got high cholesterol. There's a fancy name for that, like hyperlipidemia or whatnot. But I've had several members of my family have had very big complications, bypass surgeries and strokes and that sort of thing that I'm trying to avoid. I have issues that prevent me from being able to take a traditional statin, so I take an injectable medication every single month, and I'll probably be taking it, perhaps for the rest of my life, I don't know, but it is expensive. And the cost of that medication is almost $1,000 per month. If I was to walk into, you name it, pharmacy down the street from me, whether it's Walgreens or CVS, I'm on a high deductible plan, so I'm paying the cost of that medication every single month as I go. And I'm just gonna use round numbers. Let's just say it's $1,000. I have a $5,000 max out of pocket. I'm gonna hit my $5,000. My company, since we're partially self-funded, or even if I'm fully insured, the insurance company, they're gonna pick up the next 7 months at $1,000 a pop. They're gonna pay $7,000. So we pay $12,000 total for the year. Well, I can get that exact same medication through some of the programs that we use, which is how I get my medicine now. It's mail ordered to my house. And you guys have heard of Mark Cuban, Cost Plus Pharmacy. You've heard me talk about this. You've seen it in the news. There are programs like that are out there that I can get this medication for a few $100. The benefit and the incentive that my company gives to me is they say, Chris, if you're willing to get your medication through one of these outlets, we'll give it to you at no cost. The benefit to the company is instead of paying $7,000 a year, they're paying about $3,500 to $4,000 a year. So they've cut their costs. My company has cut their cost almost in half, and I'm now saving $5,000 a year for that medication. And that's going to happen in perpetuity until the next blockbuster drug comes out. But those are 3 ways that employees can save. They surgeries, imaging, ongoing cost of expensive medication. And by the way, $1,000 a month is not an expensive medication. It sounds expensive when we're talking about it, but expensive medications, which I see every single day, these are drugs that are $8,000, $10,000, $20,000, $40,000. I've seen drugs that are $60,000 per month for one patient. Think about the cost impact to your company, to the health insurance, to the rest of the members next year and 3 years from now if we address just that one claim. We're able to cut that claim into a fraction. Sometimes we're able to get that medication on the programs that we use at no cost to the company, no cost to the member. There are ways to do that. If you're not seeing those sorts of options and how they actually integrate into your plan, how they drive savings for your company, how they drive savings to your employees, reach out to me, send me a note. I'm happy to share what we're doing with those. Perhaps it'll spur a conversation with your advisor. I'm happy to help any way that we can. But I hope these tips were helpful to show how we can cut $1 trillion out of our GDP to invest in higher growth areas of opportunity in our economy, starting with you, starting with me, starting with your friends that own businesses around the country, all of us banding together in this grassroots effort. That is how we're going to do it. I hope you take these tips to add more profitability to your bottom line and more money in your employees' paychecks. Until next time, take care.